чом ви ми молоді, молоденькі, чом не заспівали? Заспіваю файну співаночку, мій білявий Іване Іваночку, заспіваю ші-ді-ді-ді-дана про чорнявого Стефана. Бо я дівчина молода, квітну, як на сонці ягода. Бо я дівчина молода, квітну, як на сонці ягода.
Ти весно синьока, тобі мої пісні складаю я. Ти вода у потоках.
Ти весно синьока, тобі мої пісні складаю я. Ти вода у потоках, що з нас сріблистим мохом сяяла.
Jacques Handofsky was born on January 27th, 1915. After he immigrated to the United States in 1949, he would become famous for his woodblock printing. His woodblock prints depict many scenes, including flora and fauna, some even drawn from his experiences at the New York Zoo. He would in total create 377 woodcuts, etchings, and linocuts after his move to the US. His famous artwork can be seen in such places as the Boston Museum for Fine Arts, and it was even hung in the White House during President John F. Kennedy's tenure. He was a master of woodblock techniques and a pioneer of traditional woodblock art in a modern style.
Katerina Billicourt. Putting together a few feathers and a cherry branch, mixing natural dyes, young Katerina Billicourt rather devotedly studied the DIY of painting, including making brushes and paint herself. Since childhood, she'd been fascinated by art, so when in her native village, Bodanivka, a public theater had been created, she couldn't pass the opportunity by, going there not only to act, but also to create scenery. It was then that a local amateur painter, Ivan Kaltya, shared with Billicourt some of the technical features of painting. Around the same time, folklore becomes her source of inspiration. Taking up folk song lyrics, fairy tales, and legends, Billicourt was recreating the amazing world of folk art, which was part of her worldview. That's why nature wouldn't interfere with her imagination when Billicourt painted on plein air. Though the real life of Katerina was far more challenging. Despite failures and disappointments, villagers ridiculing her, art schools rejecting her because of lack of education, Billicourt still will achieve her goals. Her first personal exhibition happened at the Poltava Folk Art Center in 1940. It included 11 paintings, which captivated the public. All that due to a random lucky event, a letter with her artwork Billicourt sent to a singer, Oksana Petrunsko. A letter which caused Oksana to go and search for its author. From now on, Katerina's name will become known, even though she'll stay in Bodanivka with a handful of apprentices. Vasil Nahai, the director of the Museum of Ukrainian Folk Art, visited her there to buy her works. This institution nowadays has the largest collection of naive Billicourt's artworks, which made her famous all around the world. Pablo Picasso once said about her, "If we were to have a painter with skills like that, we would have made the whole world talk about her."
Polina Raku was an artist in the naive style. She did not begin to paint in earnest until she was 69 years old. She had never been exposed to classical art, either in galleries or on TV, and she never had any formal art training. Her first artwork was said to be a sketch of a white dove landing on a fence next to her house, and supposedly this is where she took her main inspiration, from nature.
Заснули мальви біля хати, їх місяць вийшов колихати. І тільки мати не засне, мати не засне, жде вона мене. І тільки мати не засне, мати не засне, жде вона мене.
For the next 6 years until her death, she would paint almost every surface in her house, going as far as to even paint family graves in the local graveyard. She would produce fantastical pieces, whose subjects varied from simple flowers to mermaids and creatures of folklore. In the end, all 6 rooms were covered from floor to ceiling in creatures both real and fictional, with a constant theme of blooming flowers. It was said that almost half of the paintings in the house are those of flowers both small and large, adorning almost every surface. Raku drew the subjects of her images from all sorts of media that she encountered. From postcards, brochures, labels, and even stamps influenced what she drew on her walls. One time, she was sent a letter whose stamp showed a picture of a koala. She had never seen such a creature before, and so it joined the other animals on her walls. She used the most basic low-cost enamel paint available, which had a limited color palette and a strong smell, to paint almost every surface. Others who knew the artist claimed that almost all of her pension was used on paints and brushes. Polina Rakoju created paintings that are still on display in galleries and online. Her painted home was almost completely destroyed on June 6 of 2023, after Russian efforts to breach the dam on the Kharkovka electric power facility succeeded. This breach would cause the flooding of many settlements in the Kherson region, including Olshki, the home of the artist. The water level would reach the roof of her house, and only 40% of her paintings would survive.
And now we'll talk about Maria Primachenko. The artist Maria Primachenko first felt her feverish desire to go into the arts when she was tending a gaggle of geese in her native village in Bolotnia in the Kiev region. She started to draw a flower in the sand and noticed bluish clay, and she wanted to paint her hut with it. Soon people from the village gave the girl the first orders for painting their village huts. The artist Tetiana Fleru helped Maria go to Kiev workshops, and then she graduated from the School of Folk Crafts. At this school, Primachenko continued to work with familiar motifs on the paper. She painted flowers and ornaments, and shortly she animated this world with animals, both real and fantastic, some nasty, others fanciful, but always bright as all of her works. The colorful bestiary has it all: lions and elephants, a cat's king as well as birds as Ukrainian dancers, a red beast with 8 tiny legs, sharp fangs, and a thin beard, and a long tongue called the threat of war. Primachenko's world created in her pictures was harmonious with her personal ideas about life, and the artist always reproduced and referred to it in her works. She always used to say that one and the same flower vary from picture to picture because it is constantly changing. At first there were birds in the sky and flowers on the ground. Then the beasts came and had eaten everything up. We'd also been devoured by them. Birds and flowers are for joy, and they are like vishivankas, and beasts are to inspire fear. And finally, only kind people and animals will survive. Primachenko became a classic, naive art during her lifetime. Her works were exhibited in Paris, Warsaw, Montreal, and Prague.
Maria Primachenko painted flowers because she loved them. Her family grew up in a small hamlet not 30 kilometers from the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. She recalls her first time painting. When she was a young girl, she had led a gaggle of geese down to the river. At the river, she stopped and looked over to the beautiful flowers in a grand field. She then decided that she would draw some in the wet sand with a stick. When she got home later that day, she continued to draw flowers and paint them with pigments on the walls of her house. Maria Primachenko would go on to become one of the most famous, both nationally and internationally recognized, naive artists in the early to late 20th century. Her career started in embroidery, but as she grew older, she transitioned to art, and she never accepted payment. She would simply gift her art away to family and friends. Her art is signified by a bold and bright style featuring bright backgrounds of red or yellow, containing fantastical creatures or scenes of flowers. One of her most famous pieces that recently sold for $500,000 at a charity auction was Flowers Grew Around the Fourth Power Unit, a painting about some flowers that she must have seen around the Chernobyl reactor just post-disaster as she was forced to evacuate with the rest of her family. This painting would come under bombardment during the opening days of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine as they practiced a deliberate attack against the museum, trying to destroy Ukraine's cultural heritage. Luckily, this painting withstood Russia's shelling of the museum.
До шлюбу вбиралася калина, вівчара в садочку, в тихому куточку жде дівчина, жде.
Petrokivka, the artistic calling card of Ukrainian folk art. Petrokivka is made up of swirling lines and vibrant colors. The name comes from the small village of Petrokivka in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, where it was created. This colorful art style features plants, animals, and everyday landscapes. Originally, these designs were used to decorate traditional stoves, walls of the houses, and the frames and windows of doors. Nowadays, it is a world-renowned art form that can be seen on clothing, interior design, and in art galleries across the world. Traditionally, painters would make their own pigments from natural dyes, red from cherry juice, blue from snowdrop, and yellow from sunflowers. These pigments would be mixed with egg yolks, milk, and cherry tree sap to create smooth, natural colors. Most painters use acrylic paints now, as they last longer, are much more reliable, and produce brighter colors. Petrokivka was brought into the modern world by Tatiana Pata, who taught a 2-year course on the art style and then moved to Kyiv to start a studio in 1936. She would later go on to teach at the Petrokivka School of Decorative Art and work with other painters at the Kyiv Taras Shevchenko Souvenir Factory, where mass-produced Petrokivka was introduced to the world with the iconic black background, and followed later by its use to decorate porcelain. One part of tradition that didn't change was the use of kitten brushes, which is brushes that are made from cat hair. It is believed that hair is extremely elastic and well suited to Petrokivka painting style. Don't worry, as no cats were hurt in the creation of these brushes. Shed hair from around the neck and paws is gathered, bundled, and attached to the handles using glue and thread. This all seems very complicated, but one simply needs to practice a little bit and it will become easy to paint beautiful Petrokivka.
Дорогі студенти, квітами можна милуватися, їхнім запахом насолоджуватися, а ще їх можна смакувати, як в Україні. Цвіт липи, ромашка, мати й мачуха, пелюстки волошки – це все інгредієнти трав'яних чаїв. Українська традиція споживання цього напою не просто церемонія. Це ритуал збирання рослин та лікування ними.
Варення. Волошка. М'ята. Мати й мачуха. Мед. Ромашка. Троянда.
Що з тобою? Ти захворіла?
Мабуть.
Заварити тобі чаю?
Так, дякую. Візьми в кухні квітковий. Його збирала влітку моя бабуся.
Сама бабуся?
Так, У її саду ростуть лікувальні квіти й трави. Ромашка, мати й мачуха, волошка, м'ята, меліса. Вона їх збирає, сушить, а коли хтось захворів, готує з них чай.
Як цікаво! А ти колись допомагала бабусі?
Так, я любила збирати волошки. Чай із них п'ють для покращення зору. Дуже смачно. Як ти готував напій?
Я поклав ложку квіткової суміші у горнятко, залив окропом та додав меду. Моя мама передала варення. Пригощайся.
З чого це варення?
З троянди.
Ще такого не пробувала. Попросив мама рецепт, будь ласка.
Добре.